Hi, my name is Vikrant Adhole and I am partner of OOB Consulting, and we have launched this VRiddhi costing process software. So before you really start working with this software, you need to understand the costing methodology, what we are going to work with. Because until unless you won't understand this, it will be very difficult for you to arrive at the best cost that you could sell your product to your customers. So let us first understand how we are working on this costing methodology. So as I mentioned, in machine shop, the cost of manufacturing happens on the batch size that you are going to manufacture. For example, if your customer requirement is for 12,000 numbers annually, you are not going to manufacture them all at one shot. So based on your economic manufacturing batch size, you will be taking the number of pieces based on that. And frankly speaking, even if you have to make it just one component, you will have to go through the complete process to manufacture that part. So that is the reason why we work on the manufacturing batch size and not on the customer demand. One of the important factor what we found out is apart from just machining cost, there are a lot of other costs which needs to be taken care of, and which most of the time it becomes very difficult for us to accumulate those kind of costs and give us a final offer to our customers. So over here we have made special arrangement and setups wherein you could add in lot of other non-machining costs, and still you could work out in a much better manner. One of the important factor that is, I would say, is post-COVID, the prices of material has really skyrocketed, and consideration of scrap makes sense for us now, as you could see. And this is one of the factor what we are also incorporated in this software is like you get the scrap generation that happens during manufacturing. So just to give you as an example, my experience says like when we do machining, we almost remove 30 to 55% of the material, and this 30 or 50% of the material what we remove, it generated into scrap. And if we could offset the scrap value, it can give us even better margins or and better costing to negotiate and get this order. So just for an example, what we are showing over here, suppose if the cost of the material is 100 and the scrap cost is 20, and 30% of the material what you are going to use is going to be generated as scrap, then based on that, if you directly work without scrap, then the cost of the material for you is 100. But if we remove this 30% at an rate of 20, then your cost of material is 94. So this is almost 6%, and 6% of the material cost, I mean. And most of the time we lose lot of orders with a very small margin. So probably the idea is to understand what is your actually rock bottom price of manufacturing. How much profit you should earn, that is your decision. But our main goal is to give you the rock bottom price of your manufacturing for the selected manufacturing batch size. Now this is just a graphical view how the total cost of the component comes into. You have fixed costs. This fixed cost is nothing but the cost of the setup. If you are going to use any of the fixtures, then fixturing cost is one of the costs. Then any other overheads, like suppose if you have to do some engineering work or something like this, which will be a one-time cost, but it will have to be considered by you. In setup cost, we are talking about cost per hour, that is for setting the machine. Then there is one more factor which is known as efficiency. Efficiency is something like your machines are not going to work for 100% of the time. Your operators might need to go to answer the call of nature, maybe doing some tool settings, offsets and all this thing. And apart from that, there is one more provision what we have made, which is known as markup. In markup, what you could do is it is a kind of a buffer what you could build up with going time, and once you have the confidence of building better estimates, you could play with the markup in much finer way. Then we have the variable cost. Variable cost is nothing but the machining time that has been incorporated and any other cost that is going on per piece basis. So this has been covered under variable cost. And then if you are interested, then we could also deduct the scrap and tax refunds and all this thing what to get. That can be also be eliminated from this. So scrap has already been considered in our estimation process. But if there are any tax refunds, then you could also consider that. So how the setup cost is working? So as I mentioned earlier, there is a cost per hour for the machine. Then you have an efficiency, and then there is a markup. So for simple example, if you are going to charge is 100 per hour and your efficiency is 80%, then your efficiency cost, what it comes, it will be 100 minus efficiency divided by 100. That is the percentage. It is nothing but to put it in simple maths is 20%. So your efficiency cost becomes is 20 out over here. Then we have the markup. Markup is nothing but your cost per hour plus efficiency cost, the whole multiplied by the markup percentage what we are going to put in over here. So for calculation purpose, I have taken is 10% as markup. So my effective machining hour rate comes to machine hour rate plus efficiency plus markup. So in 100 per hour machine actually cost me around 132. So all the costing is working on effective machining hour rate and not on your per machine hour rate. Then one of the thing which is important for us to understand is the fixturing cost. So most of the time you will require some kind of special toolings or maybe fixtures or maybe gauge for in-process gauging or inspections, and this all cost needs to be recovered. So we have the provision of adjustment of this fixturing cost, and we will be discussing this in details when we will be discussing on the setup video. You could see those details. Then operation cost, one of the thing which I come across with most of the people, and they ask me like how accurate is the software. Frankly speaking, no matter how good you are with estimation or something like this, until unless your estimation process and your programming process doesn't match, you are going to have the difference in costing. In costing, in the sense, what I mean is your estimation and the final cost of manufacturing. So there are a lot of parameters which affect the complete cycle time. Few of the things I have mentioned it over here. Selection of right tool, speed feed is essential. Then the safe distance, the approach distance is very, very essential. I have seen some programmers who are keeping a distance of 5 mm during drilling. I don't know why. But the thing is, the confidence of the programmer in using the machine and on himself or herself is very, very essential. Third, more important part is strategies what you are going to use for machining, and it really impacts your final costing. We will be doing some videos on operations. In this, you could understand the difference of using the right kind of strategy. One of the important factor where most of the people are failing is to understand the machine acceleration and deceleration. Frankly speaking, this plays a very important role, especially if you are not planning your to and fro movements very properly. We have the provisions of taking this acceleration of machine, and this helps us in getting more closer to the non-machining cost. I mean the rapid non-cutting time. So all these things we have considered very properly. One of the important factor while doing this turning operation is finding out the time using its CSS, that is G96. And if you are not calculating that, you are probably just going out of context. So we have the options of keeping both G96 and G97, and you could work on the costing on the same. So I would recommend, like after watching this videos, you watch other videos also, which we will be covering setups and operations before really starting using this software. This will help you a lot. So that's was very important for us to share with you how the costing methodology is working. And I believe before you start really using the software, you would watch all the videos. So thank you. If you have any comments, suggestions, or even if you want to make some additions in features or something like this, you could write back to us on support@VRiddhiTechnisoft.com. We are eager to know from you what are your comments. Thank you.